Blog Talk Radio.
Otherwise,
you know, we're never letting go. This time we can reach the sky on a prayer. We go higher than high. Yeah, wide awake, it's a big mistake, 'cause it's something we can deny. Oh, this time we can reach the sky on a prayer. We go higher than high.
Welcome to Optimize My Life, the ultimate radio show where we unlock the secrets to living our best lives. Now, before we dive into this exciting journey of self-improvement and empowerment, I want to take a moment to thank our incredible sponsor, the Hope Collection, for making this show possible. Their unwavering commitment to spreading hope and positivity in our lives is truly remarkable. We believe in the power of interaction, so we want you to be a part of this incredible journey. Call in, write to us, or connect on social media. We'd love to hear your questions, experiences, and challenges. Together, we'll create a thriving community of like-minded individuals, supporting each other to thrive and shine.
good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your host, Mary Stanley, and I want to welcome a very special guest, Brenda Warren. And before we start, I would like to remind everybody, it is September. Today is Labor Day, so welcome on this very special holiday. But September is near and dear to my heart and many others because it is Mental Health Awareness Month and Suicide Prevention Month. And so, the biggest problem we have is it is not a weakness to ask for help. It's a sign of strength. And so if you're struggling, please reach out. So, Brenda, welcome, and thank you for joining me, even though we had a couple glitches today.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, good. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, pleasure's mine. So let's talk a little bit about your background because I see you were a veteran.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a retired Marine gunnery sergeant. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, and then I went on to become a hospital administrator, and now I'm a podcaster, business coach, and a self-publishing publisher with my own publishing company.
Boy, you are like many of us who don't take retirement sitting down.
I did take it sitting down for quite a while, though, Mary, the truth be told.
No, a lot of us, we need to just to stop for a minute. I don't know about you, but, in the Army, we are always surrounded by people. Always. And so, the first couple of months, it was like, it's quiet.
That's
There's
true.
nobody here.
That was the hardest part, was coming away from all the action, and then to go what I call radio silent was a little tough.
Even to this day, I have to have a TV or radio. I have to have something going. I can't deal with silence.
I was getting picked at recently for that. It's like in my house, there's always music playing or an audio book or something, because I do not enjoy sitting in the silence.
No, silence is deafening.
Yes, it can be.
And, in my house, we always have one of the TVs or something going. So for my kids, they don't sit and stare at a screen. They're just so used to it going that to them it's just background noise. How hard was it for you being a female in the Marines?
I don't really think it was that hard, Mary, because I come from a family I had 3 brothers of my own, but my mother did foster care, so there was always at least 10 to 15 people in my home at any one time, that kids from the neighborhood or whatever, because we were that house. My mother made sure that she kept an eye on us. So we were the house that everybody came to. So going into the military for me was just as chaotic for me as it was being home growing up.
So it helped with the homesick part because it was the environment you're already used to, so it wasn't much of a transition.
That's true. And also for me, while I was in boot camp, I got the most letters of anyone because I had everyone in my neighborhood and on the block writing to me because I had my own business before I went in the military, so I was well known. And every mail call, I had so much mail I could not even read it all.
Oh, wow.
And that was pretty cool. It made the other Marines a little bit jealous until my mother started sending homemade chocolate chip cookies and things of that nature. So I became very popular even within my unit.
I bet. Hey, at least you got the cookies and the superiors didn't steal them first.
Oh, no, because my mother would send enough and send boxes just for them. So I had that figured out before we arrived there. I come from a military family, so they kind of knew the drill and how to get people to leave me alone. So my mother, I would definitely say she greased the skids.
She made that path just a little bit easier.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
You know, so as you're in the military and then you're getting out, you know, what was the next career path for you?
Well, when I retired, I sat home for like 6 months because I was determined I was going to actually retire because I had spent all my 20 years rotating or, you know, going from duty station to duty station almost every 2 years. So I had traveled a lot all over the world. And my last assignment at the Pentagon had me going to every military base. So I was ready to be still. But after sitting there for 6 months, I got bored. So I went and got a job at the local hospital. And it was just a little something to do at first. But then I got bored and, you know, wanted a bigger challenge and applied to be a director. And that's when everything changed. And I was a director in charge of 3 different departments with oversight sometimes of 5 departments for 13 years. And I loved it.
No, it's okay. I want to take a step back for a minute here. You know, with working in the hospitals, you saw a lot of the issues that were going on, especially with the veterans.
Well, the funny thing about my local hospitals, we're right here by a military base. We're right by Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. I live in Goldsboro, North Carolina. So, yes, I did see a lot of things with veterans, but it wasn't just limited to veterans. However, I did have the opportunity to see how civilians handled the mental health side of things as opposed to how they were handled when I was in the military. So that was always interesting to me.
How is it different? Because a lot of people don't realize that how really...
I feel it was different because in the military, you know, we're in the military, so we're used to following orders. We do what we're told. They say take medicine, you take medicine. They say show up, you show up. In the civilian community, you actually have rights. And so it was really eye-opening to know that I could self-advocate for myself in reference to my mental health. That was something I did not know when I was in the military. So when I had episodes or different problems due to my post-traumatic stress disorder, I did not know how to speak my truth, self-advocate, or to just simply ask questions. I just did what I was told, took what I was given, and kept my mouth shut.
You know, I'm going to blow your mind for a minute here with an interesting deal because I work in trauma and help with veterans with post-war syndrome, but I'm also in my passion's in autism. And I have 2 kids that are different variations of it. Mm-hmm. And the way an autistic individual thinks and how a military person thinks are parallel.
That's interesting to me. I have a child that's autistic, so that makes sense to me now that you say that.
You know, one of the big things is they have that linear thinking. They're always processing everything around them all the time and looking at different ways to solve issues or deal with things, similar to how we deal with it. Absolutely.
And you got to know that when I was placed in that environment of watching the way things were different, it played a big part in what happened to me once I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Because, see, when I entered the hospital as an employee, I did not know that the challenges that I were having were due to post-traumatic stress. And when I discovered that they was, I was in so much shame and fear of anyone finding out, I didn't tell anybody. So I just took what they gave me at the VA and tried to function. And I made it for 3 years before the bottom dropped out. And then that landed me in a situation where I had to come clean, and it put me in a very bad place mentally, emotionally, physically, in my marriage, spiritually. It was bad. And that was in 2011 when I first got the diagnosis, but it would not come to light to everyone around me until 2013.
And by then, everything's already starting to fall apart.
Absolutely.
What a lot of people don't realize, a lot of the aches and pains and health conditions we get coming out of the military that we didn't experience while we were in, we don't even experience the symptoms of it until years later.
And the truth is, Mary, I was experiencing the symptoms while I was in. The difference is because of the culture, I did not say anything. I was married to a Marine, and when things would fall apart, he reinforced my belief that if I told anyone, I would lose my military career. So I just basically had to do what most Marines do. We sucked it up. And so I kept sucking it up and pushing it down, and I thought I had control until the stress of my high-pressure six-figure job took its toll, and then everything started coming out of my bag.
And that's the other thing about where autism individuals parallel is they're taught in a lot of therapies and a lot of environments to just suck it up. You're being told on a regular basis, you need to be like this person or do this way, say things this way. You can't say these things. You can't do these things. And so that's the same problem they deal with on a daily basis, is having to suck everything up. And
that's why I'm so passionate about what I do now, Mary, because I felt like for so many years I didn't have a voice. And when I finally got my voice, after sitting on my couch for 8 years, afraid to live my life, afraid to make waves, I had a lot of time to think and to read and to figure things out. And when I finally got a clue that I didn't have to keep sitting on that couch, now I refuse to sit still, and I refuse to let other veterans stay tied to the limiting belief that we can't do anything else, that we have to stay in this perpetual cycle of drugs and just being less than and not living to our full potential.
And that's where I want to segue into what you're doing now, because you are here to help individuals, and you've even created your own method to do that, which is phenomenal.
Yes, I did. And here's even how that happened. I went to Veterans Launching Ventures program because when I got off the couch, I knew I wanted to help others. I just wasn't sure how to do it. And I created the TAPIN Method because one of our homework assignments was to write a book. And I was like, what do I write about? To write about what you know. And the teacher offhandedly said, why don't you write about how you got off the couch? And I thought, oh, well, I just tapped into my own self. And he said, well, write about that. So I began to write about that, created my book. And it was a year before I even knew the book was a #1 bestseller because I did it as a homework assignment. I never even looked. But once I discovered that, and I would find out that men and women from around the world were actually using my book in a book study, and they were tapping into their own genius. I cried for days. And then I began to answer the questions that were coming at me that I did not even know were in my DMs. And that gave me the second edition, which also went #1 bestseller. And from there, I haven't looked back. I've been helping people all over the world tap into their genius.
So here's the deal. I got something that I didn't realize until I was going and doing your stuff for the show. I actually bought your book years ago
so cool.
when I struggled with my own mental health back when my kids were diagnosed, and I kept going through, what did I do to screw up my kids? You know, when I got 2 kids diagnosed with autism, I kept thinking back to the fires in the Middle East, to, you know, Ground Zero 9/11, to the shots, to, you know, getting out and being lazy and not exercising properly like I used to do because I don't have to.
Right.
All these different things. And I hit rock bottom, and I called the VA. And they told me that they don't have anyone available and they'll call me.
Wow. That's
12
not
years
unusual.
later, I'm still waiting for a phone call.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sad to hear that. But I hope that you're not giving up, because here's the thing. There is help. The key is, and I used the term before, self-advocating. We have to be so relentless when it comes to our mental, physical, emotional, financial, and relational health that we don't let anything or anybody stop us from getting the help that we need. And sometimes it's just about talking to a fellow veteran that's been there. Like you, I have a child that's autistic, and I went down the blame game. Was it the shots? Was it the smoke that I inhaled when I was in Somalia? Was it the day I got gassed? I spent 2 years coughing up blood. And how about the shots they gave us that I still to this day only know them as a number? I went through all the guilt and shame of that for years because Alex was different. And then I finally was like, well, you know what? It is what it is. Alex is an amazing soul that I thank God every day that they're a part of my life. But I will tell you, there are times when I question what was done to me. Is that why Alex is the way they are? But I simply just now, I have learned to say, this is the hand we were dealt, and we are going to live our best life now, no opportunity wasted, and not worry about looking back or focusing on the woulda, shoulda, couldas. And simply we're going to embrace life right now as we continue to tap into our best life.
Here's the cool part. So after I went through your book, and I went and learned about what autism was, and I learned how much the U.S. sucks in the care for autistic individuals.
Yes, they do.
Your book kept me going when I couldn't get my voice out there in the U.S. So I started reaching out overseas. So I was speaking overseas, and now when I doubted myself in what I was doing, kept me motivated to keep going. And now I've got the name that I've got, and people know me and listen to what I'm saying, and we are working on changing laws and regulations and how these kids are cared for.
And that's an amazing thing. And if you think about, for both of us, what the world was saying we would only be able to accomplish this based on our diagnoses or lack thereof. And if it was not for your inner fortitude, you wouldn't be out here doing the things you're doing right now to help people optimize their life or talking to hometown heroes or anything else. Because unfortunately, the system is designed to silence us. They don't want us out here making waves or telling people that there's a better way, because then people would actually get off the never-ending cycle of self-abuse. I'm not sure why it's set up that way, but I know in this month of military suicide awareness, it's so important that we reach out, checks for other veterans. I do it for my civilian friends as well, because a lot of people, Mary, as you know, are drowning in plain sight. They don't have the ability to get the resources they need. They're not even sure where to start. And sometimes they just need to hear like these podcasts or hear from one of us when we're out and about, in order to know that it is possible to go from sitting on the couch taking 22 different medications, being told that you'd never be able to put 2 sentences together, to now owning your own business. If you'd have told me that I lived the life I live right now 5 years ago, I'd have told you were on hallucinogenic drugs. But today, every morning I get up, I'm excited about my life. I'm excited about helping the people that I get to support all around the world through my publishing company, through my coaching and my group coaching programs. And I know it's nothing but God for me why I'm doing what I'm doing, because in my own strength, I wasn't able. But once I was able to get the right medical doctors that were willing to work with me and also use holistic approaches, we were able to take me off lots of the medications. I did begin to exercise, eat right, and do the things that were going to help me live my best life, because at first I was not. And that's why I became a pattern for living coach. I wanted people, especially veterans, to understand that you just can't fix one thing. You need to create a harmony within your life that lets everything be hitting on all cylinders: your spiritual life, your financial life, your social life, your emotional life, your emotional life, the relationships you have with your loved ones, significant other, with your pets. We don't often think about that, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. That's the other part too, Mary. We have to allow for each individual to walk their own journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but sometimes we try to get to the other side and we negate the process that it takes for us to get to a place of healing.
I know, for instance, I always recite the ethos. I'll never quit. I'll never accept defeat. Over and over and over, Never leave a man behind. I just kept repeating those over and over and over again. And
mine is I am unapologetically unstoppable.
I come up with it. I have a disclaimer for me now.
Okay.
I am German. I am Irish. Mm-hmm. I'm ex-military. My sarcasm is not a defense mechanism for me, because that's what therapists used to tell you all the time, is your sarcasm is to protect yourself.
Right,
no.
right.
I am me. My sarcasm is because y'all ask me some stupid question that I have no polite answer for.
I like that. That's just who I am.
It happens to be my husband ends up asking me the dumbest questions at the wrong time. He is like the poster child of Bell Engvall. Here's your sign. Mm-hmm. Good example. So we have one of these AC units that you have the module that sits on the floor and then the hose sticks out the window. So I'm sitting here screwing it in because it wouldn't stay in, right? He looks at me, he goes, "Is it falling out?" And I looked at him and I'm like, huh? He goes, "Well, is it staying in the window?" I go, "No, not at all. Of course it stayed in the window. I have nothing better to do than sit here and lean against it, hold it up against that window, because I'm learning how to do wall sits today." And I'm just like, my God, think. I just lose patience some days because people just ask the dumbest shit. But so coming up in the middle of September, we have not quite there yet, but Optimize My Life Radio is going to have, and this is great for your child too, is we're going to have a whole series of shows in the evenings. And they're going to be on every major podcast platform too. We're on Google, iHeart, all of them. They are shows for neurodivergent individuals, by neurodivergent individuals. So every one of these hosts will they have a business in some form or another, or life experience, so that they can teach and help other individuals in the same situation. It's not about a therapist that is reading a book and telling you how you should be. It's about a person that lived that world and how to think and accepting you as who you are.
That is awesome. What made you come up with putting this together?
I work with a lot of autistic individual adults, and a lot of my programs I create are from them. And what did you wish you would have had when you were a kid? What would you wish your parents would have said? Things like that, so that I learn how to help my kids correctly, not screw them up more than I already do, which every parent screws up their kids. It's just normal. And I've accepted that process. I just didn't want to make it worse.
Right,
But,
I get you.
you know,
I get you.
For me, hearing the term "the veterans" on the TV every time I turn around during an election year irritates the crap out of me. And having therapists and professionals who have never lived this world tell me what I need or what I need to do, or that you understand what I'm going through when you're, you know, a 30-year-old that just graduated college that have just moved out of your parents' house. You have no idea.
That is a hard pill to swallow when you're sitting across it. That's why it's important for us that are in need of assistance to vet out the people that we go to. I really encourage my veterans to not land on the very first therapist that they come in contact with. Know that you have a right to say it's not a good fit and to move on, because in order for us to be a better version of ourselves, we have to actually look for the people that we are going to know, trust, and like. Just like buying a product. When you are shopping for a therapist, you are shopping for the person that's going to solve your problem. And if you have some young kid that has not even lived life, that may not be the best fit for you. That's why I like looking for other combat veterans or veterans, and I say other combat veterans. I always like to clean that up, because although I saw combat at the time that I did, legally, women couldn't see combat. So I never received the combat action ribbon like a lot of my fellow Marines that did not, that were female, even though we were exposed and right there, which is a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
Well, you know, it's just like medics. You know, female medics saw as much combat, but we got screwed in the line for everything to get. You know, it's like getting a Purple Heart because you got hurt. Well, no, you didn't, because you did doing your job. It wasn't, you know, an act of valor. You didn't save somebody because you're only doing your job.
Isn't that something? The lines of definition can be something that are another add to the stressor of your stress, because I know when I first came back and I was having nightmares and different things, I literally was told that it's not possible that I have PTSD because women can't be in combat. I'm like, tell that to the bullets that were flying past me. So for years, it took me years to get my benefits, because I had to get letters and different things, because according to policy, we were not allowed, we were not legally in combat. So they did not acknowledge it, even though hundreds, thousands of us were.
And it's so hard to be nice and not have the smart comments when they ask us stupid questions like that or say things like that. It's like, then why did you send us out there? Why did we deploy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why were we there if we couldn't legally do it? You know, that's like Fridays we're adding on new shows, and Fridays will be our salute to veterans and military personnel. So we'll have shows on mental health. We'll have shows on how to start a business. We're going to add a bunch of shows just for veterans by veterans. And one of our main hosts, and I'm so thankful that I get to call him a friend, is Captain Len Kane from the U.S. Navy. And he has created one of the oldest non-for-profit charities still in existence today, called the Golden Rule Society, and offers a whole bunch of services free or reduced for veterans. And he speaks out about a lot of things that in helping veterans start businesses and programs for them and things like that, that we don't realize that's available to us when we get out. We don't get a book that says, here's how to transition into life 101.
Well, here's the thing. We actually, because of that, my friend Lisa Deschorme, she's retired Air Force, she created a book. It's called From Duty to Destiny, a guide to the essential A to Z of lessons we learned in the military. I wrote the foreword on that book, so I really love it. And it's available on Amazon. Gives so many tips on how to navigate going from military to the civilian community and how you can embrace the training that we learned in the military. In addition to that, Lisa and I also collaborated on another book called We're Stronger Together that helps showcase 22 different veterans and their business journeys. It's also a how to start your business book. We're very proud of that. And every, Military Business Week, we give those out for free. That's coming up in November. It's the week of, I want to say November 11th.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Week. It's going to be that week. So, all of that is a part of the give back. We both practice HOPE, and HOPE for us stands for help one person every day. We make an effort to actually reach out to a different person every single day, be it a veteran or a civilian, but we focus on veterans to ensure that they get the support they need, because there's too many of us still hiding in the shadows for fear that someone will discover our secret. It's important that we have these conversations, Mary, so people know that help is available and that they can manage their pain and get to a place around like-minded individuals that will support them in their success. And I'm so excited that you have this podcast and that you're doing the things that you have scheduled coming up. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure, because I've been there. And, I went from San Antonio, Texas to Medford, Minnesota. So I went from Military Hub, USA to literally, if everybody's home, 1,200 people population. And it's such a small town that the minute you're the new person, everybody knows it. And you walk into used to be the neighborhood little mom and pop store. Everyone stops talking and looking at you.
Yeah.
So I went from all the support in the world to no support at all in the middle of nowhere.
And they didn't have the Veteran Services officer there or anything close by you?
About 20 minutes away.
Okay.
A lot of our veterans, we really don't have a lot of veteran services. I partnered with our local church to create a support group for veterans and law enforcement first responders to talk about these day-to-day struggles and having that outlook in that place. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Adopt a Soldier program.
No, I have not.
So this was created in the 12, 13 years ago, 14 years ago.
Okay.
It started out in San Antonio, Texas, and now it's on every military base. And we created it as a way to help with kids in boot camps because, the misconception is military never shuts down. Well, correct. Active duty never shuts down. Training facilities shut down over the holidays. So when kids have nowhere to go or money to go anywhere, they're stuck in lockdown.
Okay.
And so I helped create the program so that your local communities could take a soldier home for the holidays. And they get to go spend that day and, go back and forth. They have to come back every night so we can keep an eye on them, but through background checks and make sure these people are legitimately safe, it's a place for them to go so they're not alone. And the idea was to help with the suicide rates in boot camp facilities. And the cool part was within a year of this, we ended up with more volunteers than soldiers.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Now, is that something unique to the Army?
It started out in the Army, but last I heard it's on every military base, training base, and we're expanding it.
That's good to know. I know that there was no formal program, but my mother always would, during the holidays, just go pick up people from airports and different places. If you had on a uniform, didn't matter what branch, she would make sure you were safe. Like when the airports were shut down or you couldn't get a bus or something. And so for years, I would get these letters and stuff from random military people all around the world that my mother had bumped into and had some way to play a part in their life. And I just loved it. And to this day, I still get some of the letters, pictures of their families, and they tell me how important it was for my mom to support them. And that's another way I honor my mom's legacy, is making sure that I reach out to veterans to let them know that someone cares. Because like you say, when the training facilities shut down, or even just when it's a holiday now. Think about the troops that are active duty that are far away from home, and there's all these events and stuff going on, and some of them may not be extroverts. They may stay to themselves, and they may stay on the base during this long weekend as opposed to getting out in the community. So having programs that allow our young military people or our seasoned ones know that help's available is so important. And that's why I like coming on podcasts during this time of the year and talking about suicide prevention, because it's so important for us to get the word out that help is available.
There is. And there's so many free help. You know, local churches are willing to sit down and talk to you if you need it. You know, I'm partnering with an organization. She makes crocheted ducks. And so what we're doing is we're taking those and we're taking them partnering with schools. And so they go to soldiers that are in boot camps and becoming a pen pal with a kid to learn what life in the military is like.
That's cool.
And then they can send postcards back as they travel to different places to see where these ducks will end up throughout the world.
Pretty cool. It's kind of like that Flat Stanley thing we used to see years ago. I'm aging myself. But Flat Stanley, I used to watch him travel all around the world. I thought it was really pretty cool. You know, one of the things I do want to stress, though, for anybody that may be listening now, that if you need help, we do have a national crisis hotline that you can call. You dial 988. If you're a veteran, press 1, and there's someone there 24 hours a day waiting to support you. And there's also peer-to-peer support. There are so many different options for us to get help. The problem, as I see it, Mary, is oftentimes veterans don't seek out help until it's too late. And by having these conversations and bringing awareness during Suicide Awareness Month, we can get the word out and let people know before they need the support. That's when it's important. And one of the things I encourage my veterans to do is to establish a protocol, a mental health safety protocol that allows them to have systems and people in place that when they find that they are in a crisis situation, they know exactly who to call. I have people in different time zones so that no matter what time, day or night, I have someone that has committed to being there as a point of support in the event I find myself in an emotional or mental crisis. And that's so important to get that set up before you're in crisis so that when you are, you know what to do.
And that's where I always use the phrase, be proactive, not reactive.
Yes, ma'am.
You know,
so important.
Checking in with individuals and looking at the subtle signs. You know, most people that are in crisis, and this is what people don't realize, is that it's not the visible signs. We're very good at burying everything because that's what we're taught. We're not taught how to release it. We're taught to bury it. And so you got to look at the subtle signs of the, you know, withdrawals, being quiet, you know, not eating as much, that you really need to start checking in with those individuals as opposed to the person that is talking about how down they feel or how horrible they're feeling.
That's true. Often those subtle signs people miss because I always say, look, if they start withdrawing or just doing things differently than what you are used to, just simply ask the question, check in. Ask them if there's anything you can do to help them. You know, oftentimes you ask that simply, how do you feel? And, you know, people go, I'm okay. Or they're not going to tell you. The question is
the tone of voice. You know, they say I'm okay or I'm good. Does it sound like a legitimate I'm good? Or is it, yeah, you know, I'm good, I'm okay. You know, simple, subtle signs of how they answer that question are crucial to making that next step. I think sometimes
people are afraid to ask the question, too.
Yeah. You know, one of my first clients was the daughter of a SEAL Team 6 member that committed suicide. And she blamed herself because he sent her to the store because she came home early. And the minute she left, he did it. And she came home to find him. And she's like, well, if I would have said no, and I would have went to the store, and I, and getting her to understand that, it wasn't her fault. And the sad part is he was released the day before from the VA. Saying he was fine, there was nothing wrong with him. Even though he was asking for help. He was begging for help.
And sometimes I think, too, the sad thing that I've seen repeatedly, Mary, is that people think that you're simply going through a phase. When you hear people make statements like, I just want to disappear, I think, life would be better without me, or I wish I wasn't here, and we just blow that off, I think it's important that we tease out those statements and make sure that we are asking the right questions, and we're not letting it go. Sometimes they'll say that and then they'll brush it off, they'll play it off or whatever. But if you're around someone, pay attention. Don't just let it go. Give them the opportunity, let them know help is available. I'd rather offend someone because I thought that they were in crisis and ask the question than to not ask the question and to discover that they've harmed themselves.
Yeah, I learned that one the hard way. I always used to say that I need to go. I need to go. And I didn't realize that, and so I had to rephrase everything that I just need me time. I just need to be by myself. I'm okay, I promise. I just need quiet for 5 minutes.
And also we have to also allow for our loved ones that we know are going through things to create a safe environment so that when they feel like they're not quite safe, they feel safe enough to talk to us about it. That's why the mental health safety protocol is so important. Having it before you need it is a way to save your life and save pain for the rest of your family.
So we're almost out of time for today. And one thing I would love for you to come back on is next week when we're doing our tribute and honors to 9/11. And it's about, what happened during that time period, where were you? But also because of your expertise, I would love to get you on because there are so many veterans struggling with the mental health to talk more about this and do a little bit longer show.
That would be nice. I'll be happy to do that.
Perfect. Yeah, because it'll be also, we're going to not just do live on the radio, but we're going to launch it onto our YouTube and social media platforms as well so that people can get the resources they need and the stuff that they could use that didn't know was available.
Especially with this month, it's so important that we raise the flag high and tell people that help is available and that we don't act as if somebody else is going to do it, because it takes all of us lifting our voices in unison to let people know that help is available, that they're okay, and that it's okay to not be okay, because when you have gone through a trauma, sometimes things can get a little rough, but help is available. And like I said before, if you or a loved one have thoughts of harming themselves or others, please call the National Crisis Lifeline at 988 Veterans Press 1. There is somebody there 24 hours a day waiting to support you.
They've done a statistic on this, and the reason why veterans struggle so much more with PTSD compared to civilians is because most veterans actually run from trauma in their life growing up to the military. And so they're compounding trauma they've never dealt with as a child to what they see as an adult. So a lot of times what you saw in the military, what you went through, isn't the root cause or the main factor of your PTSD. It's something that happened earlier, just contributed onto it. And
there have been studies done on that.
There has been. I can send you links to that.
I've read a lot of the different studies. The main thing, though, for me is just to know that when people in the military are struggling, is to make sure that they know help is available and to be able to get them to that help before it's too late.
It is. And that's crucial. But it's also, it's not your fault.
That's right. It's not.
And it's not that you're weak. It shows more strength to get help than it does not to get help. And just because you tried before, it may not have been the right help needed.
That's true.
So as we run out of time for today, I'd love for you to put that number out there one more time, and then what's the big thing you want to leave the audience with?
If you are in need of support, just call the National Crisis Lifeline at 988 Veterans Press 1. Again, someone's there 24 hours a day. And my final thought is a thought I always leave people with is that you have choices. And if you can remember that and remember this, the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely. Don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary situation. Life is worth living.
That is 100% true. Thank you for joining me. I will email you a link to the shows for next week.
Okay.
And it was a pleasure to have you on today. And I
Thank
hope you all have
here.
a great holiday weekend. And remember, reach out for help if you need it. There's always someone there to help you. So have a good day, have a good night, and bye for now.